Good evening. You're watching the late news on HKIBC. I'm Wynna Wong. Here are some of tonight's top stories. The election committee overwhelmingly endorses John Lee as Hong Kong's next leader. Families say it with flowers as they thank mothers on their special day. And thousands flock to Cheung Chau despite the cancellation of traditional events on Buddha's birthday. Hong Kong's former number 2 John Lee becomes number 1 on July 1st, when he will be sworn in as chief executive, succeeding Carrie Lam. The election for the city's top job was conducted this morning, and the overwhelming margin of support was music to Lee's ears. Johanna Chan reports.
I hereby declare that the only candidate, Mr. John Lee Ka-chiu, is returned.
That announcement confirmed that John Lee will be Hong Kong's 6th-term chief executive. A total of 1,416 election committee members, or an overwhelming 99.4%, voted in support, while 8 did not support, and 4 cast blank ballots. The former chief secretary invited his wife, Janet Lam, to share the stage with him and wished her a happy Mother's Day. His 2 sons were not present.
This is an honor that I accept with humility and sincere gratitude. With loyalty and perseverance, I shall undertake this historic mission and shoulder this responsibility to unite and lead the 7.4 million Hong Kong people to start a new chapter together.
Having secured victory, John Lee now has to form a cabinet before he is sworn in as chief executive. He now only has 53 days to pick a team, amid speculation on who will be recruited to help lead his next administration. At a media session, Lee acknowledged that he has to gain the public's trust.
I can do that by action, so that when they see results, they somehow will know that, well, at least he is trying his best.
The chief executive-elect pledged to tackle housing and grassroots problems as his priorities. He also said he'll work on reopening borders to create a better business environment.
I'm very conscious of the need to make Hong Kong accessible to the world, and also it is an important thing for Hong Kong to be able to resume normal travel with the mainland.
One reporter noted the pressure faced by the chief executive's family and asked Lee's wife how she felt about his victory.
Okay.
She refused to comment, but Lee said the election was a personal matter, and he did not ask his family to take part. He thanked his wife for supporting him and hoped his family will not face extra pressure because of his new position. Johanna Chan, HKIBC.
Pressure is now on John Lee to form a cabinet quickly before he takes over in around 7 weeks' time. Most election committee members gave the former security chief their vote of confidence. Raymond Young reports.
The party-like atmosphere gave away few clues that a solemn election was taking place. Hong Kong's political and business elite were all smiles as they posed for voters before heading into the booths to officially endorse John Lee as chief executive. Lee also seemed relaxed, greeting electors at the entrance with nods. Or elbow bumps. All had high hopes for the man who will lead the city for the next 5 years.
Although we do not satisfy about Mr. Lee's manifesto, but we still want to keep dialogue with them. And we also encourage the new government have the gesture, not only a gesture, only have the motivation to keep dialogue with different groups and with different voices.
I think he understands that he doesn't have expertise in finance, but he'll put a strong team together. He knows that, and that's a good thing. You know, the problem is when you have a chief executive that thinks they know everything, then you got problems.
I think it's always difficult to find a candidate that is good at everything. So far, in my meetings with John, he is a very decisive person. He is a good listener. So I believe if he is able to put together a strong team, then that's not a problem at all.
Now that we are more or less finished our work in relation to national security, when we have done sufficient work to recover from our economy downturn, I think it is time perhaps to look into the question of political reform again.
Are you interested in joining his cabinet?
Well, let's see what happens today.
Chief Executive Carrie Lam congratulated Lee on his victory and pledged to render her full support to ensure a seamless transition of power. Beijing's liaison office in the city described the election as an important step in realizing democracy with Hong Kong characteristics. Raymond Yang, HKIBC.
In other news, mothers were the toast of the town on their special day. Families showed their appreciation by rewarding mothers with flowers and restaurant treats. Maisie Mock reports.
Many people took their children to Mongkok's flower market to buy gifts for Mother's Day. Roses and carnations were among the most popular picks.
My wife loved the orange, and my mom loved the red color and pink. Every mother is very hardworking. They contribute a lot for their family, especially during the COVID-19. So special thanks for all the mothers in Hong Kong.
Happy Mother's Day!
These are all mother's favorite flowers. One of each are around 200 something. Not much consideration in these special days. Just beautiful and wish mommies were happy.
Flower sales have not bloomed this Mother's Day. Despite the crowd, vendors say fewer people are actually buying flowers. They are also spending less. Last year, they splashed out $500 per bouquet. Today, it's just $300. This florist blamed the global economic slump for the drop in business. But he noted that there were more visitors because social distancing measures were eased last Thursday. Many people celebrated in restaurants, which can now accommodate up to 8 people per table. This grandmother was happy sharing a meal with her grandchildren in Mongkok. In Saiwan, a restaurant operator said business was better than expected and expected sales to reach up to 80% of the pre-COVID level. Chief Executive Carrie Lam took to Facebook to wish all mothers good health and happiness, but warned everyone to stick to anti-epidemic measures. Maisie Mock, HKIBC.
Thousands of people marked Buddha's birthday by traveling to Cheung Chau, although traditional festivities there have been scrapped because of COVID. But islanders and visitors hope that things will return to normal next year. Joanna Ho reports.
Today is Buddha's birthday, as well as the 4th day of the Jiao festival on Cheung Chau. But COVID has forced the scrapping of the bun scrambling contest and the Pusic parade for the 3rd year running. Still, 10,000 people took the ferry to the island as of 5 p.m. Some were disappointed that popular events had been cancelled.
I think it's a little bit pity that it's suspended, and because in our childhood we have been here to visit the Chen Baosa and the Pusic parade. Nowadays children cannot involve in this traditional.
But some looked forward to next year.
There are also more events going on. I saw a little parade. I also can see the Tower of Buns, and it's quite enjoyable. If I happen to be in Hong Kong, I will definitely come here.
While COVID meant that the traditional festivities associated with the annual festival are cancelled this year, visitors can still take home one of these signature peng-on buns, which are supposed to bring good health and fortune. You can get one for $10 today, or wait until tomorrow morning when the islanders will give out 20,000 to 30,000 buns for free. One bakery said people can redeem the buns with voucher cards.
I think for the distribution, the voucher card is better than distributing the bun because due to the pandemic, the hygiene mentality and such and that are stronger than before.
Festival Committee Chairman Yong Chi-ming lamented the decline in visitor numbers, but said anti-epidemic rules had to be followed. He hopes the festivities will be back to normal next year. Joanna Ho, HKIBC.
4 more people who ate in a Yunlong restaurant have tested positive, taking the tally in the cluster to 8. Albert Au from the Center for Health Protection said all those who contracted COVID sat in the center of the Peony Golden Court Eatery. He said they could have been infected through air transmission. But 8 environmental samples from the restaurant, including its ventilation system, came in negative. New infections in Hong Kong fell today to 266, including 25 imported cases. There were 2 COVID-related deaths. Overseas now, millions of Filipinos will troop to the polls tomorrow to elect a president for the next 6 years. There are 10 candidates, including boxing legend Manny Pacquiao, but only 2 are considered to have a chance of winning. It was a sleepless night for hundreds of thousands of Filipinos. A massive rally in central Manila lit up the skies in pink as supporters of presidential candidate Leni Robredo whipped themselves into a frenzy. The event last night was complete with music, dancing, and fireworks. Robredo was in high spirits as she prepared to take on her main rival, Ferdinand Marcos Jr., who had his own fiesta-like rally also in the nation's capital. Both contenders wound up their campaigns ahead of Election Day tomorrow, when over 67 million registered voters are set to pick their next leader, along with senators, representatives, and mayors. As the current vice president, lawyer, and a longtime public servant, Robredo appears to have the better credentials. But opinion polls show her trailing behind Marcos Jr., the son and namesake of the dictator who was ousted over 3 decades ago. The younger Marcos, commonly known as Bongbong, has run an aggressive campaign using social media to target the under-30s, who have no experience of the corruption and terror under martial law during his father's rule. Bongbong improved his chances by drafting Sara Duterte Carpio, daughter of the popular incumbent president, as his running mate. To extend dynasties or usher in a new era, that will be a choice Filipinos have to make tomorrow. Ukraine says 60 people are missing and feared dead after Russia bombed a school in the east of the country. According to local authorities, around 90 people had been sheltering in the basement. In a report which could not be confirmed independently, the governor of Luhansk said 2 bodies were pulled out from the rubble and 30 people were rescued. Earlier, the authorities in Odessa said at least 6 Russian missiles damaged businesses in a residential area. Runways in the city's airport were also hit. Meanwhile, both Ukraine and Russia confirmed that all women, children, and the elderly were evacuated from the besieged Azovstal steel plant in Mariupol. The site has been under Russian assault for weeks. On to the weather now. Holiday spirits may be dampened tomorrow by showers and clouds. Temperatures will range between 24 and 29 degrees. Umbrellas will come in handy as the week progresses. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. And that's our main news for Sunday night. Join us for more at 11. I'm Wynna Wong. Good night.